How's it going, guys? In this video we're going to be talking about EVAP systems. So really just to talk about EVAP systems, the simple purpose of an EVAP system is to reduce hydrocarbon emissions by reducing the amount of fuel vapors that are let into the atmosphere. Um, so I have written out here a diagram of the EVAP system on my truck, and it's a very simple enhanced diagram, or enhanced system. An enhanced system meaning that there's sensors and solenoids that are controlled by the PCM, and we can monitor the system for leaks as well. So there are other simple systems prior to really having a PCM or using the PCM to look over and control the system. So just to give a simple explanation here, you can see we can start at the fuel tank, where we have a simple fuel tank with a filler neck and a fuel pump. And you can see we have, what I have written out there is FTP. That is a fuel tank pressure sensor. So we can monitor the pressure in the tank, and it's the same thing as a MAP sensor, just a typical pressure sensor. It goes up in voltage with more pressure. And so from there we have a line that goes to the canister, and our canister is going to be filled with charcoal, and charcoal actually is able to absorb a lot of that fuel vapor. And then off the side of our canister we have our vent solenoid, and our vent solenoid is going to be normally open, so it's always going to be open to vent what's going through the canister back into the atmosphere, say for refueling and whatnot. And then after that, you can see it runs up into our purge solenoid, which is connected to the intake manifold. So we can actually, when the car's running typically at cruise, we can duty cycle that purge solenoid to evacuate the canister. So the intake is just going to sip on some of those fuel vapors and burn it off into the engine when the canister is full. And yeah, that's really just a simple explanation of the system. And we're going to show you some pictures and some other things about my truck, and we're also going to show some videos and explanation of testing the system as well. Alright, so now we're actually on the truck and we have the scan tool pulled out, and I wanted to show you some of the PID values regarding the EVAP system. So you can see here at the top we have the vent solenoid command, and like I said, this is normally going to be open. So say during refueling or any temperature changes, we're not going to suck the tank into a vacuum or have a bunch of excess pressure in the tank, causing the tank to crack or just put a lot of stress on the tank. Up there too we got the purge solenoid command, so we can duty cycle control that when the system is full of fuel vapors and we want to bleed that off into the intake. It looks like we also have the FTP there, and really that's just going to be for when we're running a monitor of the system, and the PCM can look to that to see, well, first we're going to close the vent and just barely crack open the purge and kind of suck the tank and do just a slight vacuum, and then we can hold it there and the PCM can look at that FTP to monitor for any leaks. Alright, so here's a quick look of the EVAP purge solenoid. So you can see that we have right down here is a line that's going to be coming from the canister and up into our solenoid, which is then mounted to the manifold. So this solenoid is going to control how much of that fuel vapor that we can purge into the manifold. Alright, and then also you can see that little green cap there where we have a threaded end that connects to that line that comes to the purge valve, and that's where we can basically introduce smoke or pressure test the system to check for leaks ourselves.
All right, now we have our smoke machine hooked up to our 72 MG MGB, and we have the air line connected to our purge line going to the intake manifold, and we will test our airflow. So it does appear that there is a small leak.
So just to explain a little more on what they were doing just there, they were actually using the smoke machine to pressure test the system. And obviously this is an older car and it's a non-enhanced system. So I believe they were actually able to take the line off of the purge valve that is vacuum controlled on this car and seal off the vent somehow and just fill that system with air and see what kind of pressure it can withstand. And then if it's out of spec, that's where you can use the smoke part of the machine to fill the system with smoke and start looking for where it's leaking from. And pretty much you can do the same thing on any other car, but a more modern car like my truck, you would have to command the vent solenoid on so it closes that vent solenoid, and then you could actually tap the machine into that test port that I showed you earlier. And we did actually do that, and I lost the video. It wasn't spec. But yeah, if it wasn't, again, you could fill the system with smoke and look for where that's coming from.